Sometimes you want a chart to have a little more flair. You want it to stand out a little more. When you select a chart on the Design tab, a pretty prominent and visible choice is called Chart Styles. And if you notice, there's a drop arrow to the right. And the so-called Live Preview, which allows you to explore before you make a choice, is in effect here. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that's better than what we already saw, but it certainly causes the chart to stand out more than it had before. And as we go over some of these choices, the primary difference is visual, but you will notice on some of these how we're seeing data labels or not. Sometimes we'll see grid lines. Sometimes we'll see the data labels vertical like this. It's definitely worth exploring. Sometimes it just gives that added push to the image that makes it look just a little bit more appealing, perhaps. It's very subjective, of course, as to how that actually works out, but from time to time, these are definitely worth exploring. You'll also see the same choice to the right here with the paintbrush. And here they're oriented vertically. You'll see the same choices this way. It's a little bit closer to the chart in question, so that's possibly of advantage at times. And keep in mind, too, that sometimes you get charts from other sources. Maybe on this sheet called City Sales, there's a chart that's got a lot of colors in it, and it was coming from another source. You didn't create this, so click on it. Let's explore some chart styles here. Remember, it's on the Design tab. Right away, we see some choices. Clicking the drop arrow, we'll see a few more. And sliding over some of these, we see some variations. Notice how the columns are all thinner here. You may or may not want that if you had made them wider, but we see what's happening here too. This is definitely worth a look. There's some features here that to others might look like you really spent a lot of time working on this. That shouldn't be a goal, of course, but from time to time, some of these are more interesting than others. Very subjective, and yet from time to time, as we look at some of these, we see some valuable bits of information being displayed by way of data labels. So don't overlook the option. It's called Chart Styles. And for some users, it's one of those features that as soon as they create a chart, as soon as they see a chart, they click on it, they go right to Chart Styles and consider making some changes. Sometimes these black backgrounds really stand out well, since much of the remainder of the worksheet is likely to be a white background. They do, however, when printed, maybe not look quite as good, but that's, again, a subjective choice. It's definitely worth exploring these options here as we consider how we want to make our charts look better.